Hello, good evening. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
So, here we are back again after a short break.
Yes. What short break? It's been, what, a year?
It's been a year, yeah.
Almost a whole year. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. So, August 19th, I think, was the last time I uploaded an episode.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So,
That's
for those of you
crazy.
who don't know, this is Storytelling on the Plains, and we took an unscheduled break. I am Irene.
I am Connor.
And this is our little jaunt through the history of Western Nebraska and the history of the places, people, and things that we find interesting out here. I started a job in June of 2023, which quickly became overwhelming and consumed my life. I was working 6 days a week, 12 to 14 hours a day. And this is one of many things that fell by the wayside because I just could not keep up. And then I decided I couldn't do that anymore in June. And I am in the extremely fortunate position that I was able to retire. My husband is still working, but he just said, it's enough. You've been working since you were 12 years old, so that's 42 years.
That's very good. Yeah, it's good. It's good.
And he said, stop and do the things that make you happy. So that's what I'm doing. And it just took us a couple of months because of some other issues, but catch people up to what you have been doing for the last year. You started a new job as well.
I did. I went to the college. I went to our local college, and I started cooking with them and having some fun. And I recently went back. I'm going back to school here in a couple of weeks, actually. Ugh. Can't even. It's the worst thing, ladies and gentlemen, if you have to go to school at a later age. It's daunting. It is very, very daunting, I have to say. That's something that I'm dealing with now. You know, going to school at 18, you kind of have that ignorance that you don't really know what's going on. You really want to succeed, and you don't know what the future is. But at 36, you know a lot of what the future
Yes,
is.
yes.
It's not fun trying to go back into college and trying to learn other things that you're supposed to retain.
Yep. Yeah, my husband asks me all the time if I want to go back because he has 2 master's degrees now.
I know.
And I'm like, no.
Lucky.
I'm like, I dropped out of grad school. It was too much. I'm like, nope, not going back. And he goes, but you like to learn so much. Yeah, I do. I know how to read a book, and I know how to learn. I'll do it on my own, and I don't have to write a 50-page paper on it.
And I'm going back because of the circumstances let me go back. I mean, I don't have to pay for anything. One of the wonderful things about working at my college is you get free education as a benefit. So that's it's an opportunity that I'm taking. Otherwise, no, I would never go back to school. No.
Yeah,
too much money, too much stress. No.
If it was free, I would seriously consider it. But even then, I don't know if I would go for a degree rather than just, I want to take that class. That looks interesting.
And, I thought about that, but I kind of just like, well, why not go for it? Because those degrees are important. The finalities of that degree is so beneficial to work and to getting your next steps. So it's like, why not just go for the degree? Otherwise, you'd just be going from here to there to here to there, and it wouldn't work.
Yep. And I just noticed you're wearing a Star Wars shirt with the Millennium Falcon on it, and
you are too.
I am too. They're different shirts, but they both have the Millennium Falcon
Star
on
Wars
it.
August, yeah.
Great moves. My little cousin, who's 39, has never seen Star Wars, so her and her boyfriend have been going through. They're up to Empire Strikes Back.
So did they start with the original first one?
Yeah,
or with episode one?
They started with episode 1, and when they told me, they were like, some friends told us that's how you should go, and I'm like, no. You do 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, and then
you gotta do 4, 5, 6 first.
I was just like,
you gotta do the originals. It just doesn't work.
So when she gets to because I haven't talked to her since it was a few nights ago. She said they were going to start watching Empire, and I'm like, that scene at the end of Empire is not going to have the same impact. because you already know.
Yeah, because you already know it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Oh my God.
No, it's so terrible. Well, I don't know what to say about Star Wars nowadays. I just there's so much.
It's getting to be a lot. I did like The Mandalorian a lot, but I also warned her, you watch Mandalorian season 1, season 2, Book of Boba Fett, and then season 3. Otherwise, season 3, you're completely lost.
Well, did you hear about that Rebel Moon that came out? It was
I heard about it, but
more or less by Star Wars.
Yeah.
But I watched it. It was incredible.
Oh, really?
Totally believable to be in the Star Wars franchise. It did not take a lot to get to that era, but I don't know. They didn't do it. Yeah, they wouldn't.
Well, maybe now I need to go watch that. And
I thought it was a good movie. I thought it was very, very good. Yeah.
I have not seen it. I have heard of it. I couldn't.
And I haven't seen any of the Ahsoka. Ahsoka and some of the other ones. There's so many now. It's incredibly ridiculous.
I watched Ahsoka, but really couldn't get into it. It was like I'm watching it because I have to, because I like Star Wars.
You're trying to get more of the lore in.
Yeah, and I didn't really enjoy it. I haven't watched Andor. Sorry, folks, I just had to move my microphone a little bit. I haven't watched Andor, though I heard it was good. I did watch Obi-Wan, and that wasn't too bad.
It wasn't bad.
But I'm getting Star Wars'd out, and this is someone who has... I've watched Star Wars probably, like, just the first original trilogy. Mm-hmm. I've watched it at least once a year since the VHS tapes came out.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And... we probably watch them 3 or 4 times a year.
Oh yeah. Well, and the originals is quite valuable now.
Yeah,
they remade them. Even the originals got remade so much.
And when we watch them now at home, my husband and I often start with Revenge of the Sith, and then do 4, 5, 6. And then occasionally we'll chuck in. Oh gosh, what was the one that was just before, like the movie ends with Princess Leia, where it starts with the original Star Wars, Rogue One.
Oh, Rogue One.
Yeah.
Rogue One.
Paul really likes that.
That wasn't a bad one.
And it wasn't bad, but it's not my favorite. And then I can't tell you how many times we've watched Solo.
Yeah, it's all gotten Disneyfied.
Yeah.
I don't particularly enjoy. I was a kid from, when I was a young kid, before, it was around the time, because Star Wars Episode 1 came out in the 90s, and I would have been about 13. And that was my Star Wars. That people of your generation said, oh, like the original Star Wars was my Star Wars. This was my Star Wars.
Yeah.
But around that time, the only other references you had was the encyclopedia. So, and it was a big old thick encyclopedia you could get from the bookstore. Mm-hmm. And you could browse through it, and it would cover all the books and all the fan lore, and you would just flip through this all day, looking at the artwork and looking at the stories, and that was fun to me. And when it actually came out in movie form, I was very, very unimpressed.
Yeah,
It's just like, nope, this wasn't the encyclopedia that I read. This wasn't all this beautiful information that I had.
They threw out a lot of stuff that was canon, and they had so much to work with, and they were just like, man, let's just do something different.
Yeah. CJ Abrams, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks Abrams.
Yeah. Do you want me to move the box for next time? Since everything is like, I was trying to plan ahead when I moved the desk. So
that's good.
Okay. I just didn't want to have you trapped on top of wires left and right.
We're talking about our setup people, for those who can't see, obviously.
So we used to do it in a very small room in my house. Now we're doing it in a very big room in my house.
I hope it doesn't affect the sound. It's kind of cavernous. I've heard through here. So
okay.
I'm trying to get
we'll
close
see.
to the mic.
Yeah, we'll see. And if it is, then we'll just put boxes over our heads and do it that way.
Hey, most of the way I live my whole life with the box over my head. I'm used to it. I'm good.
Oh, gosh. So we had intended on getting back to this in May or June.
Yeah.
And I had some family issues back home in New York, and some, just some things snowball like life happens.
Shit
and
happens.
then there
Shit
was,
happens.
there was a massive personal incident back home in New York, and I had to fly back, and I'm going back home in a week and a half. So we're trying to get a couple things done so that we've got episodes out, but just know that we don't intend on stopping doing this.
No, we're still going. We're still
and
bit by bit.
Yeah, we get them out as we go. Our goal is one a week, but if we miss a week, just know that something happened, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Hopefully, it won't be a year.
I hope not. No.
I'm hoping that maybe there might even be a few like short things I could chuck out, so that if something happens, I can just sit down for 10 minutes and you at least have 10 minutes of something. So I still don't have anything planned. I know podcasts they either do seasons or they stick to one theme. We kind of stick to one theme, but we don't do it in any order. We don't even do we're going to do all of Sioux County, and then we're going to do Scottsbluff County, and then we'll do Box Butte County. It's just, hey, this looks interesting. Let's do something on this.
Yeah, this is the main Midwest region of America. If you don't like that, well, just go ahead and tune out.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we're going to be talking about most of the time.
So I sat down last night and wrote an episode, which we'll get to you guys next week. And this week is just a catch-up, how things have been going, what we plan to do in the future. Connor and I had planned on doing a podcast the week after the Circle the Bluffs powwow, which was held at...
We didn't get to do the powwow.
Yeah.
That was so cool. It was so amazing.
So I figured we could just sit and chat about it. So the Circle the Bluffs powwow was under development for several years. There used to be a powwow, I believe, when you were a little kid in a different part of town.
Yep.
And they held it every year, and the Lakota came down, and it was awesome. It was powwow. They're all awesome.
If I remember correctly, it was at the Veterans Home, or around the area of the Veterans Home.
Yeah, somewhere.
Around that area.
Yeah.
Because I think the University of Nebraska owns something out in that region, and that's what they had. But it was around that area. Yeah.
And I don't exactly know why it stopped, but when I was a reporter at the Star-Herald, I would... Native American anything was my beat. And I got to know Jenna Rednest, who is a really good friend of mine now. And her husband, Edison, and a couple other people they were like, we want to bring it back. We want to organize something.
Yes. They're so wonderful.
And their dream was to do it in the shadow of the monument, because the Scottsbluff National Monument and all that land over there is sacred to them.
Yep, absolutely.
I believe the majority of Lakota, since we're doing this off the cuff, I might be wrong on a couple things, but I believe the majority of the Lakota believe and accept that this is the area where Crazy Horse received his vision.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And there's a book I read, I did not write this book, by a Lakota gentleman, Joseph Marshall III, I believe his name is. Okay. It's a really good book about Crazy Horse's life, and he details it in there. And the things that they detail, that they're describing where he got his vision, it sounds like the monument to me.
And, it's fascinating. I don't think you asked this question. I should have. What was Scottsbluff called in Lakota? Because
I don't know.
The Black Hills has its name, and they all have their particular name. I didn't ask anybody what Scottsbluff or even Chimney Rock what
they were called, and we know they were
in the Lakota language.
Yeah, and we know they were down around there too, because we're going to do an episode on Jail and Courthouse Rocks, and I forget the two tribes now. I'm sorry. I've been so stressed over the last 2 months. A lot of things aren't sticking in my head.
I'm with you too.
But there were two tribes that fought, and one of them went over the top of
I believe
Courthouse Rock. and escaped down the other side.
I believe the Cheyenne. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I forget the two tribes, but I know that the Lakota were down there. Well, all the Sioux were down there too, because this whole western Nebraska was hunting grounds for several tribes. So
yeah.
But anyway, I had the privilege of writing the first story when they brought the powwow back, and they did it in. They have a permanent spot at the Legacy of the Plains Museum where they host it. And 2017, I believe, was the first year it came back. And there were a lot of people that came. I mean, there were hundreds of people that came, and then COVID hit. Mm-hmm. And just before COVID hit, so they held it for 2 years, and then Jenna got sick, and it didn't get organized. And then COVID hit, and then Edison got sick. And I only feel comfortable saying that they got sick because they were honored at this year's powwow for you know.
And there were many who didn't make it.
Yeah,
that was very well explained. That there was a lot of people in the Lakota territory that did not make it through COVID.
And they thought, and it wasn't COVID that Jenna and Edison had. It was way more serious, but they didn't think they were going to make it, and they did, and they came back and they arranged the powwow, and they're going to keep doing it. So they were honored for what they did, and I know Jenna and Edison well enough, and she was talking to me a couple of days later. She was like, man, I wish they hadn't have done that. And I'm like, yeah, I could tell just by looking at you. One, she was uncomfortable being in the middle of the powwow, being honored, being prayed over, and having the sage over them. I could tell she was uncomfortable. Mm. And then they were like, we want everybody to come up and shake their hand, and thank them. And then I could just see like the uncomfortableness just change to, oh my God, can I run away? But I just went up to and they both gave me hugs. So I was really, really pleased about that. But I don't know how to explain how much joy I get at these powwows. It's not just because, and it's something
that I always say it's something to do with the drums. It's just something to do with those drums. Whenever they get going with those drums, it goes deep inside you, and you cannot help yourself but to start tapping your feet and start bringing back memories maybe you never had before, and it's incredible what those drums do. It's really all about the drums.
And to me, it adds a little more because some of the songs I know what they are and what they mean, and so that adds to it for me. And it's far more than just my friend Jenna helps put this on. I would go to it regardless of whether she was involved anymore or not.
For those in the audience who've never been to a powwow, there's a sacred circle that's set up, and it's towards the compass directions, and each compass direction is represented by a color, black, yellow, red, and white. Forgive me, I don't know which colors represent which compass directions right now.
Yeah, because we're doing this off the cuff instead of all the research.
I don't remember. But anyway, it's set up very specifically in a giant hoop, a giant circle that almost kind of reminds you of a Coliseum-like arena. Mm-hmm. Kind of like that.
Yeah.
But everyone was surrounded that, and that's where everything was gathered and done. And everything is done very specifically where the drums were located was ours for each compass direction, because there was 4, I believe.
Yes. Yeah.
There was 4 drum circles, and each one was on each drum circle. So it was very, very sacred. It was very purposeful. Everything was set up in the way. And what I thought was great was the announcer, who I unfortunately did not get his name.
It's Kelly Looking Horse.
Kelly Looking Horse.
Yes, I've interviewed him as well.
What an amazing announcer. He was so kind, and he explained everything, and he was so amazing throughout the entire thing, and he made us all feel so welcome in that circle. So Kelly Looking Horse. If
Yes.
you're listening, thank you, thank you, thank you. This was an amazing powwow. Thanks to you.
He is really an amazing guy.
Yes.
One time he went to speak to the NRD, so the North Platte Natural Resources District, and I got a call at like 8 that he was going to be there at 9, and he was going to talk about water because the NRD does stuff with water.
Yes, absolutely.
And they were like, "Do you have time to, come up and cover the story?" And I had 2 interviews that day that I rescheduled very quickly because I was like, I'm not going to miss this guy talking. And it's the way that he talks, the history that he talks, the passion that he has, that I don't even know if he knows that he's putting that passion out there, but just talking about how water is the source of life and how important it is to take care of it.
Yeah, and how much he cares about the next generation, not just of his fellow Lakota, but of everybody, of everyone.
Yeah,
absolutely everyone.
And I am so glad that he comes to do that, and he has a fantastic story. When the eclipse came through here in 2017, I took the day off of work, and I ended up working. So I was like, y'all need to pay me because now I ended up working all day. But I wanted to take the day off, and no one at the Star-Herald thought that the eclipse was going to be as big as it was going to be. They didn't think it was going to be a big deal. And I'm like, all right, dudes. So and this was like 3 years before the eclipse happened. I'm taking that day off. Y'all aren't telling me no. I'm taking it off, and I'm going up to Agate. And It was one of the most phenomenal experiences of my life.
I don't even remember where I was in 2017. I wasn't here. I definitely was not here.
And Kelly stood up, and he had his traditional garb. And I forget all the different pieces, but every piece of his outfit is from one of his ancestors, his father, his uncle, his grandfather, his great-grandfather.
That's incredible. Absolutely incredible.
And he started talking about the history, and I don't know why it never clicked for me before about how sacred Agate is, because we know the story of Agate, which we haven't gotten to yet, but it has, Red Cloud would come from the reservation down to see James Cook and chill out with him and hang out with him. And I believe American Horse was down there too. Right. And for whatever reason, my brain is always focused on, here's a dude who used to hate Native Americans and becomes a friend of some of the most famous ones. And to me, it's just always been about the friendship and them chilling out and stuff. And then here was Kelly on the day of the eclipse talking about how sacred Agate was.
Oh, yeah.
How am I not going to write that story for the paper?
Yeah. And it's so incredible. I mean, for those who haven't seen Agate, I mean, it's this magnificent valley, almost like a giant riverbed.
It is.
Empty river.
It is one.
It is an empty river valley, but that's exactly what you would think an empty river valley would look like. Almost, I wouldn't say it's a canyon. It's just a deep valley. Yeah. But that deep valley is so beautiful, and it kind of does weird things to the weather. It does weird things with snow. It does weird things when you're out there with rain that it kind of misses and hops over. So you have this beautiful, beautiful valley that you can go through. So if you ever get a chance to go through Agate, plus of course Agate fossil beds, you get this wonderful history of fossils. And so, and then of course James Cook and all the native history, all the history of this valley has been almost utterly forgotten, and it's sad. It's
it's very sad. And I'm gonna give a shout out to 2 people. If you get to Agate before October 2024, law enforcement ranger AJ Legault, he retires then, and he has a lot of detailed history, and Ann Wilson is a park ranger at Agate, and she has incredible history too. Yes. I would love for both of them to come down here and talk about Lil Mansfield was a ranger up there, and they both learned so much from her. Her family was
Yeah.
from here. Almost everything I know about agate, I learned from Lil. And then every now and then I'll ask a question and Ann will be like, oh, did Lil ever tell you this? And sometimes it's yes, sometimes it's no. So I'm still picking up little bits of information. But that's partly why I haven't done the agate episode, is because I would love for both of them to come here and just talk about it, because it's more,
so incredible.
it's, I mean, I have such a passion for agate to the point that that's where I want my ashes spread when I die. But these guys live and breathe it every single day, and they're just like up on another level from me. I don't know if Anne can do it because she's still a ranger, but maybe I can get AJ on his way out to come sit down here and just talk to me. But I also don't see where there would be an issue for them to come and talk about Lil, because Lil was such a huge part of that place. And when she passed on, a lot of that history's gone.
It is. And just you don't have to be a paleontologist to really enjoy our fossils here. I mean, but our fossil history between even agate, and if you go on to Fort Robinson, we have our two mastodons that collided with each other and fell. I mean, there's so much history with fossils. If you're just a little bit of a fossil head, you would love this area, because there's so much here.
Yeah.
And if you don't like fossils, what about like crystals and rock? If you're a rock hunter, I mean, forget it. We have agates and we have crystals and amethysts and all sorts of wonderful stuff up here. So yeah, definitely come down here and explore.
Yeah, absolutely. So to get back to Kelly at the powwow, he was an absolutely fantastic MC. I would have him MC anything, and he makes such awesome self-deprecating jokes, like when he brought up the fact that his grandson was just dancing in jeans and a t-shirt. He said that he had his grandson put his regalia on, and it fell right off him because he's too fat. And he goes, my grandson's this little skinny kid, and I'm too fat. It doesn't fit him. And I'm just like, okay. And they kind of waited to the last minute, so there's no way to adjust things before the powwow. But
is that the boy we saw?
Yeah, that was the young man we were super impressed by.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And that was Kelly Licking Horse's grandson.
Yeah. Okay. I believe so. Yeah.
Because that was incredible.
And that was
incredible.
And every single, he danced
almost the whole time,
the entire time. And I can't remember if it was his sister or his mother that was out there dancing. She impressed us remember? I think it was his sister.
No way it could be his mother. They're about
I'm like, they look too close in age. But
no way it was his mother.
I have a picture of them that I took when they were sitting and resting for a few minutes, and you could just see how tired they were. But there was also a look of, I'm getting up and doing this again.
Yep. They were very, very proud. They were very, very, it was so incredible to see those two. And they really kept it going because they were the ones that would get the crowd into it. They would invite crowd people. They would kind of invite them in, gather them in. So absolutely.
It was awesome. And, one day in the future, maybe my inhibitions will disappear and I'll get up and dance. But in the meantime, I get immense joy from going to a powwow and experiencing everything to do with it.
And as I said, I don't know, for those who are listening, this might be different from when you grew up. But when I grew up as a little white boy in the Black Hills who went to many, many, many powwows, you were to witness, not participate. Mm-hmm. That was something that was very different in this powwow. There was an immense encouragement of participation, no matter who you were. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter what color you were, doesn't matter where you're from. They wanted you to dance. That was a deep, deep change from what I remember from the old powwows that I grew up with. And again, I think that has a lot to do with just the general movement of the culture and the acceptance that people have felt over the years. But I would love to see someone like come in and talk to us and see if I'm just being crazy. Like, was that just me?
Yeah.
Because I truly felt that was kind of the way it was back then. So I don't know.
Maybe I can get Jenna to come in one day and talk.
I don't know.
Many years ago, when I was at the paper, we did a little magazine on different ethnicities in the Panhandle. And I said, I'm doing Native Americans. And I said it in such a way that everybody was like, yeah, all right, we're not, okay. I'll fight you for it.
That's a weird thing, yeah.
And I interviewed Jenna, and she has a fantastic story in her own right about her life, the way her family was treated. Her mom and her dad both experienced the schools. And just the things she was taught and raised with, and how things have changed over time. And I'll have to see if I can't get her to come over. I'm sure she would.
Yeah.
We'd probably have to give her a more comfy chair than these cheap $25 ones that I got.
I think at the end of the day, with anybody of any culture, just ask before you assume. I've learned that. I mean, being at WNCC, we have a remarkable
international community up there that's fantastic.
The students that come in, they are from all over the world. All over the world. We got some people this year from Romania, from all sorts of different places that I would have never go from before. UK, Brazil, all over South America, Brazil, Chile, Venezuela. I mean, all those places. I mean, if you come to them with any preconceived notions, one, they're younger than me, so they'll see right through your bullshit and they'll call you out on it. But two, it's just like they don't have no time for that. They really want not only to they themselves are trying to understand the culture they just got thrown into, and each other's cultures who they know just as much as I know. I mean, Brazil knows about Romania as I do. I mean, it's just this whole thing. So everyone's just trying to get together and know each other, and that's just wonderful. It's the most wonderful thing about being a part of the college is that the interculture
experiences
experiences that you get, but you only make it work when you kind of come in with a lack of preconceived notions. Like, don't come in with this, these people are this way, these people are that way, these people did this, these people. No. Just come in with a complete empty mind, and you will be amazed what you can learn. Yeah,
it's one of the nice gems out here.
It is. It's remarkable, and just to even think that 60% of our community college is from outside of the USA. I mean, that's incredible. And we're in the middle of the USA.
Yeah.
In the middle of nowhere.
My nephew told me, my nephew looked at a map yesterday and he goes, you weren't lying when you said you live in the middle of nowhere. I'm like, no, I wasn't.
We are actually geographically not too far from the middle of the USA.
Yeah,
somewhere in Nebraska.
No, it's just over the border in Kansas, actually. We just need to move the border, and then we'll have it. But we're not far from there.
And then even you go about 4 hours north, you'll get to the geological center of the entire North America, which is in Belfouche, South Dakota. And there's I went on that plaque. I got to stand on it. Yeah, but that was the middle of the USA. So when we say we're in the middle, we're damn near close to the middle.
Yeah, pretty much.
Close as it gets to the middle of USA nowhere.
So if you ever want to come to the Circle the Bluffs powwow, it's usually held last weekend in June.
And I hope, and it's going to be next year.
And it's going to be next year as well. Yeah.
And this is like Irene said, this is the first year that it redid up. It was great, but next year's going to be better.
Yeah.
Better, much, much better.
Because they just started it back up this year, first year after COVID. So,
and they did.
And bring a friend that will appreciate it as well, because every time I covered it, I was a reporter. So you view things through a different lens than that way. And even though I enjoyed it, I covered it and came back in the evening as a regular person. I was always by myself, and it was awesome just to be able to sit next to you and know you were enjoying everything I was enjoying.
Absolutely. Oh, well, and that's my other thing. Bring a chair.
Yes.
Bring a chair. I have another story for you here in a sec about not bringing chairs, but bring a chair and a water bottle. Bring a chair and a water bottle, folks. That's what you got to do. Chairs and water are essential to these events. And going on to this next event, this week was the Old West Balloon Fest.
Okay.
It's been going on since 1986.
Yeah, there was a break in there, and then they restarted it 10 years ago, because I had to do that story.
Yes. But for those who don't know what the Old West Balloon Fest is, it's hot air balloons. We have quite a bit of them that come every year around this time, and they launch up, and we have wonderful events. You get to go and see hot air balloons. You get to go right up next to them and see them take off. So I was one of those people that got up my happy butt at 5 o'clock yesterday in the morning.
Nice.
It was a foggy, cold morning, and unfortunately, the balloons could not take off as a result. So we got to see them light up and kind of like puff themselves up. And they were cool, but they never went off. So, but I'm going back to the chairs and water bottle. Once again, did not bring my chair, did not bring my water bottle. So here I was at 5 o'clock in the morning to almost 8 o'clock in the morning, standing. My back was killing me. I was just killed for a chair just to sit. So for those who ever come out to any organization here out in Charlie, Nebraska, bring a chair.
Yeah.
Just bring a chair.
And bring water. If it's summer, bring water.
Because there's no water around either. There's no water. And if there happens to be a place that sells water, it's going to be worth quite a bit of money.
Yeah, so, yeah. Bring your water.
Bring your water.
Yeah.
Bring water, bring a chair. You'll be happy. You'll be perfectly fine.
It was.
But yeah, no, the hot air balloons did not go up yesterday morning. Hopefully they went up this morning. I noticed it was a lot nicer, but we've had terrible weather for the Old West Balloon Fest this year.
Yeah, for the Balloon Fest it was terrible, but I actually like this kind of weather.
Oh, it was wonderful.
I love it. You know, like
we had 3 weeks of triple digits.
Yes. And then it dropped down to 70, and I'm like, why am I cold? Oh, yeah, I got used to 100.
Lovely. Yes,
yeah.
Lovely. Cold.
But I like this kind of chilly weather that usually signifies the start of fall. It's a little early. Yeah. We shouldn't be getting this for another month.
I don't care.
But I don't care. I love this kind of weather. I love just watching the rain come down. It's one of the few things I miss about New York is being able to do that and listen to the water come down. Most people here, especially farmers, don't like it because it's too much water too quick. And then there's other people that just in general hate this kind of weather, and I like it. I'm actually happier in this kind of weather than
me too. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Put me in a rainy day, cloudy, overcast. I think I should just move to Seattle, Washington.
There you go.
I heard Seattle, Washington is like that 24/7.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think I'd be happy there. I think I'll just go move to Seattle.
Well, then we would have to figure out how to do this podcast via laptop instead of in person.
I actually also heard that Hastings, Nebraska is also like that. That Hastings has more overcast days than clear days. So if anybody here is listening from Hastings, you'll have to let me know if that's true, because when I went to the University of Hastings when I was younger to do some classes, and that's what they always told me. Because when I was there, it was overcast the entire time. Okay. The entire time was overcast. So it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense, maybe.
Yeah. So go to the powwow if you can next year.
Go to the powwow.
And we will be back. I know we're a little shorter than we usually are, but we will be back next time. Oops, sorry, didn't mean to kick you there. And we'll have an interesting story to get back into things. So until next time, enjoy some music that I recorded from the powwow.
Oh, awesome. Thanks for listening to Storytelling on the Plains, a podcast about the history of western Nebraska. If you enjoyed this episode, visit our website, storytellingontheplains.com, where you can subscribe to the show through a variety of podcast hosts so you never miss an episode. If you'd like to support the podcast, visit patreon.com/storytellingontheplains, where you can get the episodes early and bonus content. You can also help promote the show by sharing the podcast with others, posting social media, or leaving us a rating on Apple Podcasts. Until next time, thanks for listening to Storytelling on the Plains.